Well, one of the things that struck me about you when I first met you was and don't take this the wrong way, I was surprised how young you were.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about that. Like, you guys are young. It's not like you're old people. Okay. What is the responsibility for younger people to get involved at this point?
I get asked that question all the time. You're young. Why? You have a young family. My business is 13 years, so technically young.
Mm-hmm.
And why would I wait? I mean, if I wait 20 more years, will I even have the chance to run? Will we even have elected officials in 20 years?
Right.
Like, why would I wait for that to happen? But really, for young people to get involved, we have met with a ton of different people in every state, different countries, and most everyone says, we just don't really feel like we're represented, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no party for us. There's nobody with our mindset, and that's for the middle class, or for us young conservatives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where some of the social issues aren't as big as the forefront, right? And I'm like, well, because historically, you guys have your heads down and you're working your businesses and you're raising your families, and you look up when you're 55 or 60 and you're like, oh, let's get involved, know? And we are just as guilty on that forefront. We advocated for our industry, but we never really got behind a candidate of any sort and said, hey, we're going to do what we can as a family and as local business people to push this candidate to the forefront in our area. We just, yep, seems like we did our research. We were informed voters, but we did not do our part to get behind a candidate. And I think that's the big thing for our age group, right? The 25 to 45 year olds. You have to find a candidate that you feel like is going to push your values and protect our freedoms and get America back on track. And you got to support them with volunteer hours, with financial support, whatever that means for you in terms of supporting a candidate. You have to rally behind them, because you're right. You don't have a candidate. You've not had a candidate before. And that's because you haven't gotten involved.
And because they all look like that.
That too.
You know what I'm saying? Like that is a refreshing thing. Like seeing you, meeting you. It's like, you don't look like that, right?
Like what?
Like
this they can't see that.
I'm sorry. I pulled up a picture of Nancy Pelosi. I mean, just look at any of the politicians we have right now. They're all these old.
How many bottles of wine is she there?
Oh, she's probably at least 2 deep.
Or no, she's a vodka person, I bet.
Oh,
like I can almost smell the photo.
I can smell
it. Definitely.
But that's for the young people out there, right? Like I went through the same thing, because it's hard to relate to these people that are. I mean, she's what, 103 or something like that. Like, she's old, she's wrinkly. Like, I can't relate to that. She was alive when Black people weren't allowed to drink from water fountains. You know what I'm saying? Like no how can I relate to that?
No
right?
shit,
and so I think it's very, very crucial. I mean, like you said, for the young people to start looking out there, because there is a new movement of younger, and when I say young, I'm not talking 19-year-old kids, right?
Yeah, but you got Madison Cawthorn out there who's 25,
yeah,
killing it.
Sure.
And so you got these younger people that are coming into office, and so it is easier to relate to that. And for me, it's a breath of fresh air.
I think definitely a breath of fresh air. I think it's something that DC is actually craving. It doesn't seem like it, but when I've been out there and meeting with different groups, they say the same thing. It's refreshing to have a different perspective. It's refreshing to have a connection to our younger members, or an idea of how to even reach members to get involved in our organization. And so you're right. I mean, just because you're young doesn't mean you have a free ticket to go run for office, but it does mean you should be thinking about ways that you can get involved.
I think what holds a lot of people back, and this is something that I've struggled with, and those close to me know this, like Emily knows this, DJ knows this, but I have a hard time even today, like realizing that I'm a voice that people listen to. Like I humble myself so much to the point where I'm like, nah, dude, I'm just a dude. Like, no one gives a fuck what I actually say. And I think most people do that, right? Like, most people, no matter where you are, you think, man, am I really qualified to do this? Like, are people really going to listen to me? Does my voice really matter? And the answer is unequivocally yes, all the time. It just matters. It matters way more than you think. And in fact, just having the courage to stand up and say, hey, man, I don't really think this is right, creates other people that say, I don't either. And then the third person, I don't either. And then all of a sudden you have a group, and that just comes from you guys understanding who are out there right now. Like I get this DM all the time, bro, you have a huge voice. I don't have any voice. That's not true. You have a huge voice. You have a huge impact. You're able to talk to your neighbors, your family, your friends, the people at your office, and have real conversations, guys. Building a movement and culture is no different than building a movement in business or building a business. Okay. A lot of people in business, and I'm going to tie this back to entrepreneurship because that's what this show is generally about. When the world's not burning, when you grow a business, you guys have heard me tell you this all the time. Our business is a result of lots of one-on-one conversations over the course of time. Like it's not, you go out there and you have 100 people or 200 people every time you go to talk to someone and they're going to all listen to you and go. That's not how it works. It doesn't even work that way for someone with a voice. Like the amount of individual conversations that have to be had to build something that actually matters is massive. So why not start now? Why not start right now having these individual conversations? And the fact that people don't understand this concept, that it's one customer at a time or one like-minded individual at a time, if we're talking about a movement, which is what we're talking about now, that's what keeps people from even getting involved because they think they don't have the power to do it because they can't get the attention of 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 people. It still doesn't matter. Like even for someone with a huge audience, it's one person at a time. Like even if one person listens to this show and only one and decides, you know what, I'm going to get involved too. That was worth doing the show.
100%.
Sure. Like the guy in New York that just did the signs for all the restaurants and stuff.
Oh yeah.
He's a listener of the show.
Yeah.
Right.
He created a huge movement and he's got it going now too.
Yeah.
Well, there's always that single point of impact though. It's people are afraid to speak out now, especially with social media. They're afraid to be just bombarded and berated, that, people aren't going to like me. But the thing is that, you talk about like, if we go back to, old stuff is, the girl you met at Price Cut, you know what I mean? When that got burned in the plane. Yeah. That was a single point of impact that changed your life. And you can be that person to someone else. It's just having the confidence to say, you know what, I'm just going to share this. If one person agrees, great. Well, that person knows other people. And then it's a whole, like you said, that's how you build a movement. It's that single point.
Yeah.
It's exponential growth for sure. One builds onto two, builds onto four. And like for your listeners, the biggest impact you can have right now is to get involved in your city or your county or your township, wherever you're at and whatever you call yourself. That's the biggest place you can get involved. And I can guarantee you there are open seats. There are open seats in places.
Because there's apathy.
There is.
Yes.
And people are scared to step out there. But I'm telling you, put your name in the hat and go make a difference in your town or in your local school district or your county commission, whatever that looks like for you. Just go do it. And you will be surprised at how many people will stand behind you. And they might do it silently, but they're still a force to be reckoned with.
Hey guys, do me a favor. If you enjoyed that clip, if it made you laugh, if it made you think, if it made you have a new perspective, go over to iTunes. Check out the full-length podcast. You're going to like it.